Ready to overcome your fears? Let's do it. My name is Erin Werley, and I channel God. So if you are like 100% of humans, there is probably something that you would like to do, but you are afraid to do it. It's something that you think about often, or maybe you thought about it for so long that you finally had to stop thinking about it because it was painful. Because you have this idea of how your life would transform for the better if you would do the thing. But then every time you start thinking about how your life might transform for the better if you would do the thing, then all these intrusive thoughts start coming in about, oh, but it probably wouldn't work out that way. Probably what would actually happen is everybody would hate me and I wouldn't be good enough and it would be a huge disaster. So I should just stop thinking about this. Fear is overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming when we haven't started really taking action on those fears. And the first time is the hardest, and that's the truth. If you can do it the first time and really take action, even though you are terrified, the second time you have that first time to build on, and you can say, okay, well, I did it and my life didn't blow up and I wasn't destroyed the way I thought I would be. So maybe I can do it again. And it's these small little building block steps that you're taking. So for me, that looked like being afraid for 8 years to publish One Truth, One Law, I Am, I Create. Being so afraid that if I put it out into the world and started telling people that I channel God, that I wouldn't be invited to Christmas dinner with my family anymore, that people would laugh at me, that they would absolutely destroy me. I mean, like 100 years ago, I probably would have been put into a mental institute, right? And so I had all of these thoughts swirling around in my head that I would just be rejected by the world. And it kept me small and afraid. And it also kept me from pursuing my life purpose. And it started to get very, 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 very painful. Till one day I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And I started slowly taking action towards making it happen. Now that process took a year and a half. And in that year and a half process of me starting to take tiny little actions towards making this a reality, my book being published, I had a few times where I just stopped completely, where I said, this isn't going to work. And I stopped, but I kept coming back to it. Even though the action wasn't consistent at first, I worked through those issues and I kept coming back. Sometimes it took me 3 or 4 months to come back. And that's okay. For example, we shared the early book with someone Phil had known who was very open-minded, and he stopped talking to Phil. He stopped returning his calls. And at that point I said, okay, well, maybe this is a horrible idea. Maybe I've been wrong. Maybe I should not do this. And it took me like 4 months. I was like, well, maybe I'll write romance novels. And I just went in a totally different direction because I had to process the pain of some people aren't going to like what I'm doing. And luckily, I just kept taking little actions, and it took a long time for me to become more consistent. But after I published the book, when I had to do the next scary thing, I already had the knowing that my life didn't blow up in my face the first time I took the scary action and put my book into the world. In fact, I was so afraid to tell my parents, but I knew I had to. Right before I published, it was a few days before I hit publish on Amazon that I told them. And my mom said to me, "Well, Erin, you've always been a little bit weird." She, they It was nothing to them. They were like, okay, we support you. If you want to do something weird, sure. And I remember just cried right there, just this huge release that I had been holding myself back from my life purpose for 9.5 years now because I was afraid of what my parents' reaction would be. And they were totally fine with it. It was all in my head. And I see this with people over and over and over and over again. So let me tell you, when I had more fears, moving forward, doing more things, the next thing that really scared me that I had to do was I had to start doing some radio interviews to talk about my book. And I was terrified. I had a PR person that I had hired for a month that helped coach me on what to do on these radio interviews. And I'm coming from being totally shy, totally introverted. My eyes would water when I walked into Target because I was so afraid of just making eye contact with anyone. Just being around other people made my anxiety like really, really rise up. And so I was so afraid, but I decided I was doing this. And so I did it. I put one foot in front of the other, and the first radio interview was, oh my gosh, it was so scary. Thought I was going to throw up. I wanted them, because they called me, the radio channels, and I wanted them not to call me, right? I was like, please don't ring. Please don't ring. Please have something going on where this won't work and I won't have to do this. And after I did it, I remember I was like, oh, I was so bad. I was so bad. And then they sent me the audio to listen back to, and I was like, okay, this was a lot better than I had thought it was in my head. This wasn't really that bad. I guess I can try it one more time. I guess I'll try it one more time. And then slowly but surely, I kept taking these tiny little steps forward. We tend to think when overcoming fears that we're going to take this giant step forward and then boom, explosion, we're a totally different person. But what it actually is small steps that accumulate to something big. It's small, and it doesn't even have to be super consistent in the beginning, but it is about continuing to move in that direction, even if you have to take a few weeks off, continuing to move forward. So eventually I got more comfortable with that. Then there were so many things in that first year of me really putting myself out there that I had to move forward that scared the crap out of me. I was terrified and I kept showing up anyway. And the interesting thing about this is that we become who we choose that we are. And if we aren't taking any different action than we are today, then we aren't going to become anything different. If we are only dreaming in our head, those things will stay within our minds and they won't be brought into the physical world. When we talk about manifestation, we want to get into that for a minute. If we're only experiencing mentally in our minds, they teach you that's all you have to do for manifestation. And for some things, it's true. But there are some things when you want to make big changes in the physical world, you have to also take corresponding action based on your guidance to experience that in the physical world. Because if you are only choosing to feel it and experience it in your mind, you're signaling the universe that's good enough for you, that you don't desire to actually have it in the physical world. And I know that's probably going to blow a lot of people's minds because it's very much the opposite of what many manifestation teachers teach, but it's the truth. It's the truth. The truth also, if we want to go further into the truth, is that we all came here with a life purpose that will assist in the transformation of this world to being a better place. And if we aren't taking the corresponding physical world action based on our inner guidance, we aren't actually contributing to the transformation of the world being a better place. So how manifestation works, I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but apparently we are. How manifestation works is you first start envisioning in your mind what you would like to create. And then you start receiving little bits of guidance. Now, that could be someone coming up and saying something to you. It could be thoughts in your head. It could be visions. It could be dreams. It could be just this knowing deposited within you. It could be a feeling in your body when you tune into something. But inner guidance is going to start showing up for you when you start envisioning a change in your life, a different future for you. Okay. So when that inner guidance comes in, it's now your job to take the corresponding physical world action that you're being guided to. And what that does is it pulls this thought out of mind where you have been creating it, and it pulls it into the physical world where you want to experience it. Otherwise, it remains a thought in mind. And we all have these fears about why we should not take the corresponding physical world action, which is why the idea of manifestation without having to take any physical world action at all is so very popular. And it also leads to so many people feeling miserable and not good enough about themselves because they look at these like professional manifestors or whatever, these gurus telling them, all you have to do is think it in your head. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves, guys, because every single guru that's telling you all you have to do is think it in your head, they have written books or they are on social media. They are taking the physical world action, and guys, they've been doing it for years. That's why you see them on TV or on Gaia, or you saw them in a blog article. The only reason you're listening to them is because they're taking the physical world action. And they're telling you you don't have to. And what a shame that is. What a waste. Now, that's fine for people in the beginning of their life path. In the beginning of when you're just starting to awaken spiritually to what's actually possible for you and you being the creator of your own life, it's very, very quick and easy and simple to manifest with your mind. Incredibly so, because that's how our life path really fully starts and activates for us. But as we continue on that, then we are called essentially to rise up and start living that life purpose with physical action as well. And that's when the manifestation starts to feel a little more difficult. And so now you have to go explore further about how do I actually make this happen so I can experience it in the physical world. So fear is normal for everyone, 100% of people. But if you start taking small actions to do the things despite of those fears, the fears start shrinking. They start getting smaller. And something that a year or two ago may have taken you 8 years to take action on, now you can do it in 3 minutes. Okay. And it gets to the point where you actually recreate who you are, and some of those things that used to be fearful for you are no longer fearful at all. And all of a sudden now they bring you incredible joy. Coming on here and doing videos for you guys is something that if you go back to my first few YouTube videos, it made me sweat. It made me anxiety off the charts. Now it brings me incredible joy to come on here and talk with you, and then to interact with you in the comment section. Finally, I am living lit up from the inside, living my life purpose. And it's all because I chose to take action despite my fears. So I can tell you the only way to move past your fears, to overcome your fears, is to take action even though you're afraid it might not work out. And you're going to actually see that the universe is going to catch you, is going to cradle you, is going to hold you and support you as you take action. And it's okay if you were like me and you went, I think it was about 36, 37 years without ever taking action on anything you were guided to do. And you let your fears always win, because you can choose right now, today, that today's the day that you decide to start taking action despite your fears. You have that ability. If I can do this after 36, 37 years of letting my fears win, well, then you certainly can too. 1000%. We're actually not a lot different, you and I. It's just I'm a few steps ahead of taking action based on my fears. So what I want you to do is understand that when we take action based on things that say stay safe, or based on actions that seem safe, we stay safe, we stay small. But when you start taking actions based on your inner guidance, based on this feels way too big for me, this makes me uncomfortable, you start blossoming, you start stepping into your life purpose, you start becoming the bright light that you came here to be. So I hope this was so helpful to you. I send so much love to you. And if you have not already, click the subscribe button, please do. And also click the notification bell so that you do not miss out on my daily videos.